You're listening to the Archaeology Podcast Network.
You have my sword.
And you have my bow.
And my trowel.
Hi, you're listening to episode 33 of And My Trowel, where we look at the fantastic side of archaeology and the archaeological side of fantasy. I'm Ash.
And I'm Tilly, but we don't have time to waste. Something terrible has happened in our world.
I haven't even had my morning cauldron brew yet.
Well, we're going to need all the caffeine we can get with this one. We faced all kinds of danger before. Lost chosen ones, the ends of civilizations, dubious commercial contracts, but today is the worst by far.
Oh God, what's happened?
So, I saw Nidhaug and Jormungandr, which I know I've completely messed up the pronunciation of those, but it's fine. The world serpent.
Oh, we know Norman and Jormungandr, don't worry.
Okay.
But no, have they put in another complaint about Thor? Look, because I've told them before, they can't simply just show up to Thor's fishing trips without an invitation. It's really just not polite.
Well, it's most certainly worse than bad manners. No, the world tree has gone.
Sorry, what? Are you telling me Yggdrasil, the giant ash tree that supports the universe and is central to our cosmos, is simply gone? But that means...
Exactly. Ragnarok is upon us.
Oh, okay. No, not happening. I'm not dealing with another apocalypse right now, like not after the last one. Okay, so we simply have to fix this.
Yes.
What did your manga say when you saw them?
Well, I couldn't really hear them. They were chewing on their own tail for some reason, but I didn't need to ask them anything because the huge empty space where the world tree should be said enough, in my opinion. Also, it gets worse. We're being flooded with angry talking letters from Asgard's Yuletide Committee because they're extremely angry that they're not going to have a tree to decorate for their upcoming Yule celebrations.
Sorry, you really have to wonder about their priorities right now.
To be fair, they've got other worlds that they can deal with, so I guess they're not too bothered about our one.
Yeah, that's fair. But first things first, we have to look at the impending apocalypse, okay? So we can worry about tinsel later.
Yes, agreed. But then how can we stop the apocalypse? Do we simply replace the tree, maybe?
Tilly, you are a genius.
Well, thank you.
That's exactly what we should do, though. We should replace the world tree with another world tree.
Yeah, but okay, how are we going to do that, though? Because world trees aren't exactly common, unless I guess we have to find, like, a tree with a similar type or, like, a similar meaning or something?
I know who to call.
Yeah?
Archaeobotanist and fantasy fiction writer Genoveva Dimova.
Jen!
Welcome back to Questing, Jen.
Hello, thank you for having me again.
Oh my God, Jen. Thank you so much for popping on the show again. It's a good thing we have you on our, portal speed dial. So, of course, this part usually in the guest episode, this is the part where the guest tells us a little bit about themselves. But as we discovered when we had Jess on for her second episode, we've also had Jen on the show before. She helped us a little bit with our Ent problem in episodes 6 and 7. For those who can't remember, do go and check them out. So yeah, we've already had her on. So we already know all about Jen.
Yes, we have had you on, Jen. And they were fab episodes, I do say so really myself. We really helped out that Historical Society of Fanghorn Forest, I think. But maybe we can reintroduce you a little bit to our listeners, Jen. True. So what's your archaeology? Yeah, it was. That was like 6 and 7. We were babies then.
Episode 6 and 7, and we're up to episode 33 now. Oh, my goodness.
Babies.
Time flies when you're having fun. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So what is your archaeological specialism, Jen? And how did you get into it?
Well, if you're sure we have time, because it sounds like we're having a bit of an emergency.
Oh, it's okay.
We're fine. I mean, if they're worrying about tinsel, we can figure out. Don't worry.
Give them plenty of time to do their Christmas shopping. That's
exactly. What's a bit of shopping without an apocalypse,
Okay, so I actually have 2 specialisms now. I think I had 2 specialisms the last time we spoke as well. So I do archaeobotany, which is the study of archaeological plants. And I also do dendrochronology and waterlogged wood, which is the study of wood in archaeology, essentially. So they are kind of connected, but we count them as 2 separate things.
Oh, yeah, because I guess one is the specific dating method, if I remember correctly. From
dendro is essentially a dating method, but we... Together with the dendro, I do waterlogged wood analysis. I looked at wooden objects, just anything to do with wood.
Oh, fair. And has there, I mean, because as you mentioned, you sort of talked about this a little bit last time, has there been any developments in your archaeobotany work? What are you currently working on, or who do you work with, or what are you working for at the moment that might be a little different from last time? Or are you at the same place? Are you still developing yourself? How's that going?
I'm still in professional archaeology, and I'm currently working on a really cool site, actually. It's a prehistoric wetland settlement that's in Hindford in Lanarkshire.
Oh, cool.
And we
Very
have
cool.
3 roundhouses and the palisade around them. So yeah, it's like a little village that's all been preserved. It's all waterlogged material that's been preserved in peat. So we actually have the entire structure, and we have lots of really cool material culture. We have some really cool wooden platters. We have 2 wooden wheels. One of them is Roman from a chariot, we think.
Oh,
So yeah,
nice.
we're currently doing the post stakes for that. So we'll have more information soon. But yeah, it's a really cool site and a really good opportunity for someone doing both archaeobotany and wood analysis.
No, so last month, it would be last month by the time this goes out, we had our APN 10 celebration where we had like a whole day of live events, and I was interviewing Emma Jones, who works for Ancient Craft UK and Prehistoric Jewelry, and they've been doing all this stuff about Must Farm with all of the waterlogged site and everything. But with them, it was that the site basically caught fire and then fell into the river. Must Farm. Is that something similar with this one? How did it get preserved in the peat? Is it just that it sort of fizzled out over time, or how did it get to where it got?
So we think we haven't got exact dates yet, but we think what happened was that it was actually quite a short-lived settlement. We think maybe a generation, which is quite common in Scotland in wetland settlements. So I think that they built the houses, and then essentially we're not sure, to be honest, whether they were abandoned for a reason, what exactly happened there. But the reason it's preserved is because it got encased in peat, so it's all waterlogged.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's cool.
I can almost imagine, if you say it's like a generational thing, some dad moving there and being like, all right, come on, no, trust me, this is the perfect place to build our house. And then her kids going oh my God, this sucks. And then after one generation, the wife's just like, no, I can't deal with this anymore. I don't want to walk through a bog to get to my front door every single day. It's like, fine, we'll leave.
I know. Oh my God, we were there and we were excavating. It was so wet. If you imagine, wetland settlement.
Yeah.
The rain was on a summer day, it was beautiful. And then as soon as it rained, it was so muddy and disgusting. It was like the top of a hill. So it got really windy and cold as well. So I don't know.
The best of everything.
I don't know what the thinking was there.
No. Hashtag UK archaeology.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the worst.
Work in archaeology in the UK. Excavations are great.
Yeah, you'll probably have to sit on your feature in the winter to warm it up so you can dig it.
Oh my God. Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah.
Although better than, because when I was digging, I feel like I'm, when I was digging in the Arctic, but when I was digging in the Arctic, we hit the permafrost at some point, and it was so frustrating because you could literally see the objects in the ice, but you couldn't get them out because there was a layer of ice on top of them. And at some point we were getting to the end of the season, and basically it was well, okay, we're going to have to cover this all up anyway. So if we don't dig them out now, they're never going to be dug up. So, let's just try our best to get them out. So we were pouring boiling water over it. We at some point put a stove in the test pit and put a top on top to try and warm it up and all this kind of stuff. Because if you just left it in the sun for the day, it's the Arctic sun, so it wasn't burning hot. But also, it would burn, it would maybe melt half a centimeter. So you'd get a little bit more of that harpoon head out, and then you'd be like, oh,
come on.
So yes, so also fun. Anyway, sorry, sidetracked.
No, it is. It's bad, especially in Scotland. The weather is not great. I mean, all year round as well. It's always raining. So yeah wetland site, not fun. But a lot of fun. Organic stuff, great.
Yes.
You can't get enough of the finds. So what do you enjoy about your work, Jen? What's your favourite bit?
Oh, that's such a difficult question. I enjoy a lot of it. I think the thing that brought me into archaeology to begin with was the fact that I'm really interested in the lives of ordinary people. So I did history. The way the Scottish system works is that you pick 3 different subjects to do for your first 2 years. So I did history and I did archaeology. And I very quickly realized that I prefer the archaeology because I'm not all that into the sort of people that history books are written about.
Yeah.
I care more about just the lives of working class people just trying to live their lives, get by. So I think what really attracted to my specialism is the fact that you can learn so much from plant remains. You can learn about people eating, and I think that really helps you learn about their culture. You can learn about things like medicine, and you can also learn about things like trade and contact, which I think when we study culture separately, we kind of tend to forget about sometimes. Like the fact that they're not living in isolation, they're in contact with each. When you find some plant material, something like figs, for example, or grapes in Scotland, which they don't grow here, you think, oh, where did that come from?
It's not a tropical environment. You can't grow grapes. Not tropical, but like whatever the environment.
I'll have you know, I get grapes and figs all the time from the supermarket.
To be fair, no, I had grapes when I lived in Scotland in my little like greenhousey conservatory thing that was built out back of the house I was living in. So. Yeah.
Right, so we should need to go back in time, tell prehistoric people to get a conservatory.
Exactly. Yeah, just make glass. It's not that hard. We have it everywhere here.
Yeah. Oh my God, like get a grip. But yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. I think that's something me and Tilly talk about quite a lot, and it's sort of why we started this podcast, is that you can actually tell stories through archaeology. You can understand people much more, and it kind of gives you a very unique perspective on human history.
Yeah.
And we see that there's so many connections, and kind of cyclical, but connections, especially in the past, and there's a different way of living, I think, that we expose ourselves to, which I think is really important. And so we know, Jen, that you're a fantasy fiction writer as well.
Yeah.
So do you think this is why as well? Yeah, we do. We've read them.
Well, and what's hilarious is the last time we had you on, you were just about to release your first book, and then now you've released a second one, which you're like,
Monstrous Nights. She's in Waterstones, guys. Like, you can find her book.
Yeah.
Recommend it. The first one is Foul Days, and the second one, which has just come out, is called Monstrous Nights. And they're part of the Witch's Compendium of Monsters duology. So can you tell us a little bit about that, Jen? And kind of update us on where you are as a writer?
So my duology, it's based on Bulgarian folklore. And I always find it difficult when people tell me, oh, can you tell us about like Monstrous Nights, the second book? Because I don't want to give people spoilers.
Spoil it. I'm joking. Don't. And sometimes together.
There might be a witch somewhere in there.
The first book is about a witch, and she lives in this city overrun with monsters, and she trades her magical way to escape it through a magical barrier that's kind of like an equivalent of the Berlin Wall. Then she finds herself on the other side, and she goes, oh no, firstly, she was trying to escape her ex-partner, who was a terrible, abusive man, also known as the Tsar of Monsters. And she discovers once she's on the other side that he's still hunting her. He's not quite as easy to escape from. And also, once she traded her magic, she realizes that witches without magic don't survive for very long, so she needs to get it back. And that's kind of the idea behind the first book. And then in the second book, without too many spoilers, it's more monsters, more murder, horrible, abusive ex-partners back, and he's more horrible than ever.
Oh, man. Thought we'd seen the last of him. Ugh.
Zimmy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favourite fact about the Zimmy? Because I love this when you tell this story. Why do you like him so much as a monster?
So, this makes my favourite monster. He has two forms. One of his forms is of a dragon with golden scales. And his second form is of a very handsome young man with golden hair and blue eyes. And what he does is he takes his second form and he goes to the well or to the village square and he seduces a young woman. And then he kidnaps her and takes her to his underground kingdom, where he kind of sucks out her energy and her will to live until she dies within 40 days. And like, he's thought to be an equivalent of depression, because like if a woman has depression, if she doesn't want to go out, if she's not feeling very well, we say that she must be in love with Zmei. So this terrible, horrendous creature, the way to recognize him, if you have any sort of doubts that your handsome, golden-haired, blue-eyed lover might be Zmei, what you need to do is check his armpits. And if he has tiny little wings under his armpits, then he's Zmei.
Huh. Good to know. I'll be checking that later.
Yeah. I just love that it's like these tiny little wings. Little baby wings. Teeny little wings. So cute. Imagine if someone did have that though. And then you worried that they were like the Zimmy, and then you're like, oh no, wait. That'd be quite scary.
And remind me again, because I'm sure we talked about this before, but what was your favourite fantasy book / series?
We did talk about this before. I think I went for Night Watch by Terry Pratchett the last time.
Oh, look at that. Oh, what a funny.
yes,
I knew there was a reason we had you on again, Jen.
Not that
And I still stand by that choice.
Yeah, you woke Jen straight into that.
Not a leading question at all.
No.
So, yeah, I think it's becoming a Penguin Classics, actually. So, obviously, I'm not the only one.
There we go.
See, I was going to ask, do you not have one, and that's why you wrote one? So this is your own book is your favorite fantasy book now.
No. I still fluff myself. Imagine, my books are actually the best. No, I think, you write books because you write what you want to read. That's a thing. But I think I also have taken so much inspiration from other books and other series.
Yeah.
You kind of do, though, don't you? I think in fantasy as well. There's kind of archetypes, and then you sort of have to build on them and then make it your own. And also, you're kind of adding to that folklore element as well. You're adding to the mystery. Oh no, is that someone at the door? Let me see who it is. Oh, no. It's the Asgard Yuletide Committee. I am not going to answer that door. No. Everyone hide. Yeah. Okay, let's just remain quiet and for the next few minutes, okay? Because then they'll go away. Right, guys, we'll be right back. Oh, phew, they're gone. Thank Odin. I was not about to waste time arguing with those Asgardian Karens.
I couldn't agree more. Okay, so now that we've got Jen here, maybe we can already start our literature review and sort of pull together our existing knowledge in order to get a preliminary idea of what we might be dealing with. Because, I'd like to say I know about world trees, but I don't really know much about trees. So then it's great we have an archaeobotanist here. So what fantasy books have you both read that feature world trees?
I have a few, actually. Okay, well, obviously there's Lord of the Rings.
Right. Yes. The Valinor trees?
Yes. Two trees of Valinor. Telferon and Laurelin, I think.
Is that the moon and the sun ones, right?
That's the moon and the sun, yeah. And then you have the descendants of Tellenfor, which is the white trees of Numenor and Gondor.
The one that needs to flower, and that shows that the kings have returned.
Yes.
In Gondor.
Yes, and that happens to Aragorn. When Aragorn becomes king, the sapling of the white tree of Gondor is discovered and then replanted, and then I think it shows the rebirth of the line of kings and things like that. Yes, yeah. And also those two trees symbolize divine connections between Numenor and the Valar. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
I also love saying Numenor. It's one of my favourite words. I just feel like an elf when I say it.
It's just the language in general is just amazing. Being able to do it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I wouldn't say they were. Yeah. True. Because the original trees, the two trees of Valinor, are actually life-giving trees, right? You could say they're world trees.
Yeah, they're not exactly world trees. I mean, I think because world trees, the idea of a Yggdrasil is kind of very Norse. But world trees do appear, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay. But so I was also thinking, I've not read it, but Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne.
Oh, I've read that one.
Yeah, so that's...
I was actually, when you asked the question, I was thinking what the Norse mythology books I've read. So yeah, Shadow of the Gods was really good. It was kind of written almost in the style of a Norse saga. It was really well done. Yeah. And I can't actually remember what role the world tree plays in there, but it's definitely there because it's Norse.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be reminiscent of Yggdrasil, but I don't even know if it has a name. I think it's just a giant ash tree.
Maybe. My problem is that I never remember details of books, which is completely useless.
And you're an author. Doesn't bode well, then.
What happens in your books, Jen? I don't know. Really. I don't know.
That's why you're saying, I don't like to give spoilers. It's not that you don't like to give spoilers. You just can't remember what happened.
Actually, I was asked by a few people, why don't you write a little introduction in the second book, a summary of what happened in the first book. And I was well, the two books came very close to each other. So I think people just have to remember. But secretly, I was I can't actually, I'm not sure if I can give you something.
You heard it here, folks.
Jen doesn't know what she wrote.
It's wait, I've read a book? Wow. It's pretty good. I mean, that'd be nice because then you can read it like a reader. You can be
that's a good point. Yeah,
you're oh my God, I'm so clever. Look at that.
So good at this. Wow. She really ties together the like Slavic folklore.
To be fair though, when I've been reading your books, I'm like, wow. And then I'm like, this is Jen. Jen wrote this. I know Jen. What? This is mad.
Who knew she was so good at what she did?
Oh, Jen's brilliant at everything.
Yeah.
But back to the trees.
Yeah, so the Shadow of the Gods, highly recommend. Can't remember what the word does in there. Same with I don't know if you've read The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichec.
No.
It's like another Norse retelling. It's about the witch Angrboda, who is like...
I've got it.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
It's really, really good. It's so good. And again, I think the World Tree plays a part in the plot because it's a really Norse-inspired plot, but I honestly can't remember what exactly happens there.
Well, it kind of follows the story of Angrboda, doesn't it, I think?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. It, like, she births our friend, the serpent, whose name I can't remember just now. This is really...
Young
Oh,
why can't I say it? Jormungandr. Yeah. Jormungandr.
You got to do like
wow.
a singy-songy.
That was amazing. Yeah, she
I've been a
also...
Norwegian girl for a long time.
I just put my Geordie accent on and I think it does the job.
It's northern.
Yeah. Jormungandr? Like there you go. done.
Jormungandr.
Jormungandr. That sounds like you're insulting someone. Hey, Jormungandr.
I mean, fair enough. We say Doylem, and that is a big insult.
Yeah.
There you go. Someone calls you Doylem and you're in Newcastle. It's not a good thing. Yeah.
No.
But yeah, Jormungandr, they also have Hel, the goddess of Helheim.
Oh, yeah.
And there's another baby.
Oh, my God. Yes.
It's not Celophaner because that's Loki when he's a mare. But yeah, they have these three kind of hellish children.
Three like monster children, yeah.
Yeah. There's also, I was thinking with the Great Trees, there's actually a book called by T.A. Barron, The Great Tree of Avalon, which is like one of the classic kind of fantasy series. And that's set in...
that actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's set in Avalon, you know, the mythical kind of plane where, I don't know, King Arthur buggers off to.
One of the many places King Arthur buggers off to.
Yeah, I think he dies and goes there. He's meant to come back someday. He's like Jesus. And then that explores like the magical great tree that connects all the realms and supports like the balance of life. And each branch and root kind of houses different realms. So it's very similar to like the World Tree in Norse.
That's like the World Tree, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh. Maybe inspired by, one might think, this kind of thing.
I think it is, and you get quite a lot of them in different mythology as well. And a quick one to mention as well, obviously, is the Wheel of Time.
I was about to say, I've just started reading Wheel of Time and then put it away because I got overwhelmed by the size of the book. But,
the whole series is huge.
They mentioned the I can't even remember what it's called.
Avendasora,
that's the one.
the legendary tree.
The legendary tree, indeed. So, yeah, which is sort of soothing, right? Like sort of renewal and being like, yes, I feel better again and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
This is the sort of vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, and there's like, it's like a chakra tree, which is like the last surviving tree of its kind. So it's kind of similar. You've got this sort of same sort of vein as like Tolkien in that aspect. Yeah. Like there's only these certain trees and
different ones left.
Yeah, there's different ones left and stuff there too.
I didn't really know that many books with like world trees because I knew the only one I could think of was, has anyone read The Magic Faraway Tree by Enid Blyton?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's like one of the best. I had them. It's a whole series because she is, of course, the author who wrote like Famous Five and all of that kind of stuff, which if you kind of grew up in the UK and were into that kind of stuff, it was like the classic, you know, young kids go off on an adventure and basically save the world. And so you had The Magic Faraway Tree was this tree where every time you went up to the top of the tree, it was a different world at the top of the tree. So the kids would like climb the tree and go on all these adventures. And there was a little person that lived in the tree, I think. And so he would be their like guide to the trees. And yeah, so it's called The Magic Faraway Tree.
Oh, that's cute.
That is very cute. And it's saying that it's always worlds. They always, these trees seem to connect worlds.
Yeah. So, but it was, there's that one. But yeah, I've read like a lot of ones where there's been trees in terms of people who have been able to commune with trees or like to kind of have magic that's associated with plants. So like the first one I thought of was by Tamora Pierce, who again was one of my favorite authors fantasy authors when I was younger. And she wrote a couple of different quartets called the Circle of Magic, Circle Opens, and the Circle Reforged, which were basically about these 4 mages, and each of the mages has different powers, and one of them, Briar, has like plant magic. So he can basically kind of talk with plants and make plants do stuff and all of this kind of thing. And and which is kind of similar to, I've been recently reading Can't Spell Treason Without Tea and The Pirate's Life for Tea, which is by Rebecca Thorne, which is sort of series that's a nice cozy fantasy series, and that's similar. There's like an elemental mage in there, so she can make plants grow well and stuff. Yeah, they're really good. I would recommend. They're good fun. But so I mean, I know those ones, but those aren't really like about a tree. They're about people who can like commune with trees. But I guess we're looking for a specific tree.
Yeah, a specific fantasy tree that can replace our missing tree.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of like more old-fashioned fantasy, like the sort of like Tolkien and Wheel of Time fantasy that comes with a mythology tends to have more like world tree sort of symbolism in it, or like ones that are inspired by Norse mythology specifically.
Well, I guess it probably also comes from that sort of hate of industrialization, right? Like the sort of, we want to go back to our roots, haha. Literally, and because it's like the tree that sustains us and it's nature that sustains us, so it's sort of, I don't know, which would make sense then with the sort of classic fantasy, because that's when it was all starting, like around all industrialization and stuff. So it was
and you had the kind of rise of pastoralism and trying to find those kind of walkways again and the paths and nature and folklore and stuff. And I mean, it does connect greatly with mythology, and I was looking into it a little bit about the world trees and what, because we know Yggdrasil. I think everyone knows that the world tree is like Norse.
Yes, I know it.
But that's like the classic Norse mythology, and we see that in video games now. There's been like Assassin's Creed and things like that have come out recently, and I think people are much more aware of even like Norse mythology just because of like the Vikings TV show and stuff. But then actually there's world trees in other mythologies too. So I have like a huge list. I think it's nearly every mythology has a world tree in it,
which again makes sense because it's that idea of it's the tree that you get your life from. I mean, I can see how that would happen. Like if you would need something that would be representative and symbolic of like the start of life, or the development of life and like the world, a tree is not a bad place to start.
Yeah, because I mean, you have the Tree of Life, which is Christianity, it's Judaism, it's also Persian mythology, and they're kind of especially in the Persian mythology, that's Gankorina, which it provides like an elixir of mortality. It's central to this huge battle between good and evil. And Christianity and Judaism, it's basically represents eternal life. Like trees last longer than humans, so we're always going to think they're like these great beings, and that kind of hold our cosmos. But then you've also got stuff like the Cebia tree, which is Mayan mythology, and that connects the heavens, the earth, and the underworld, because they reach up to the sky and then they grow in the soil, and where's the underworld? Usually below us, isn't it? So, but you have the Banyan tree as well, which is Southeast Asian and Polynesian, and that's sacred, and that symbolizes, shelter and fertility and divine connection again. And then I thought about Celtic mythology. Generally, oak trees are seen as representing kind of wisdom and strength and, again, cosmic connection. So it just depends what tree you're around. But they seem to have these same sort of themes coming through, that they're sacred, that they're interconnected in some way, and that they can transport us through their branches and things to different worlds and represent that kind of strength forever. So it's really interesting.
And I guess because if you think about it now, like we have, planes and we can go up high easily and all this kind of stuff. But I guess originally it would have been, climbing up a high tree or climbing up a mountain or, something like that. And then seeing that view and seeing that, it almost is like you're transported to another world in a way. Yeah,
definitely. And I mean, it's reaching up and reaching down at the same time. It's kind of, it is connecting two different worlds entirely. So you can see why people would look at them and go, wow. Yeah. And also, that's like your great-great-grandmother would have seen the same tree that you've seen.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother planted that tree.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm curious if you guys had to pick a tree to be your like world tree, like you would build a fantasy world and it would be based around a tree. What species of tree would it be?
I think you know the answer for my tree.
Not true, yeah. The classic.
It would be the ash tree, obviously.
Yeah. Fair.
It's also the symbol of my candles. Is the ash tree. Yeah.
Very true. Okay, what about you, Jen?
I don't know. I feel like I need to go oak just because it's feels like really sturdy. I quite like my world tree to be quite like impressive and tall and sturdy. Although I do like ash.
Oh, thank you very much. I like you too. Sorry, I'm such a dad. But yeah, I know. I think, well, ash also symbolizes like it burns really quickly, which is not great for a tree, but it's meant to symbolize.
You can make really nice balls out of ash.
Yeah, you can. It's quite sturdy. It's sturdy but flexible.
Yeah,
as well, and it burns for a really long time as well.
Wasn't it bows? Bows were made of ash as well.
That's what Jen's just said.
Oh, I thought you said bowls. Sorry.
Cut that.
No, leave it in. I can be an idiot. That's fine. The experimental archaeologist here. No clue.
Yeah, it's very springy. Yeah. If you could see me now, I'm actually doing like a bow, like as if I'm doing a bow and arrow.
Excellent form, Ash. Very good.
Thank you very much.
I think my one would have to be a fig tree, like a good old fig. Because they're just the roots are so cool, like the big, like tall, thick roots that you get and stuff like that come out. They're basically like little walls, and then they're really solid and they're all twisty, and you get delicious fruit from them. So.
Yeah.
That's actually quite clever, because if you went for trees that don't give you anything like useful to eat.
There you go. See, I'm thinking forward.
She's like, if I'm stuck in an island,
stuck in a tree, I want there to be food on it. I don't want to have to eat ash leaves.
Excuse you. Nothing wrong with my ash tree leaves.
Oh no, the committee is back. Okay, Ash, you know what? Get up. We can't keep hiding. Let's just go and chat to them.
No, I think I prefer to hide.
No, come on. I'm sorry about this, Jen. We're going to have to cut short this episode of Am I Trowel, but don't worry, we'll be continuing the next episode with part 2. In the meantime, as always, if anyone has any suggestions for future episodes, maybe you are a specialist in a particular archaeological method or theory or time period or object, and you think it would be really fun to explore it through fantasy, or maybe there's something in a book that you want to find out more about from an archaeological perspective, do get in contact via email or social media. All contact info for us and for Jen, as well as book lists and the references to other points that we've talked about today, can be found in the show notes.
The Archaeology Podcast Network is 10 years old this year. Our executive producer is Ashley Airy, our social media coordinator is Matilda Siebrecht, and our chief editor is Rachel Roden. The Archaeology Podcast Network was co-founded by Chris Webster and Tristan Boyle in 2014 and is part of Cultural Media and DigTech LLC.
This has been a presentation of the Archaeology Podcast Network. Visit us on the web for show notes and other podcasts at www.archpodnet.com. Contact us at chris@archaeologypodcastnetwork.com.